All right, Zellige Tiles. If you've never worked with these, well, they are very unique. Probably the most inconsistent, ununiform tiles that I have ever seen. They're handmade, hand chipped, varying different thicknesses, shades, sizes. They are very tricky to work with, but actually once you accept that they are not perfect and you just kind of go with the flow, they're really enjoyable. So I'm working on my layout here. We're gonna have an exactly centered drain, and this curb will get wrapped with mitered corners, and it'll have a piece on each side with a joint down the middle. So I wanna make sure that my corner of the curb here is nice and pretty and flows with the rest of the floor. So my layout is based on a full tile right there and a full tile on the drain. And this pan and curb was built to spec with that in mind. So I hope it works. Let's see if my math's any good. So when working with Zellige, it's the tile setter's gut inclination to pull out the pieces that aren't square or flat or that might have a missing corner. That is a slippery slope that will lead you down the path of hell really quickly. You'll run out of tile pretty quick. This is my reject pile. Because it's a shower floor, I'm gonna leave out anything with like a hole in it, a missing corner. Those pieces will be great for some of the cuts and the miters. I'm gonna take a lot of extra care when I install these to set them as flat as possible. Even though they're warped, you just can't get it completely flat. It's impossible. These tiles are not flat. They're not meant to be installed that way, but I can get it pretty tight and close on a shower floor to where it's not painful on your feet. I love it. I think it looks awesome and it's fun to set. It's very meditative and enjoyable. So these get set one at a time. I trowel the floor, I trowel the tile, and I squish them in. Sometimes I have to add more thin set. Sometimes I have to take some off. These are all different thicknesses despite me sorting them out as best as possible beforehand. You can see the joints are not even, but the point is to just get them as uniform as possible. That is the look. That's what people want. That's the Zellige tile. And when all's said and done and it's grouted, I think it looks really good. So, fun stuff. I got the shower floor installed. It's a long and tedious process, just very slow. That took me maybe 3.5 hours. One piece at a time, adjusting each one. So far, so good on the layout, I hope. I like to soak these tiles, a couple reasons. They're really dirty, it cleans them off. Also, they are super dry. If you don't soak them, you have, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds of time to adjust them once you stick them in thin set. So it buys you some adjustment time. Anyways, the Zellige tile, you can't really approach it like just your everyday install. It's you gotta let go of perfect and straight and square and flat and just embrace the imperfections. Find a happy place and go there and just do it. All right, so today I'm working on this mitered curb. I've been excited about this, believe it or not. This is the kind of stuff I get excited about. So my original plan was to use a 4x4 tile on the front of that. Simple, easy, right? One cut. And then I got thinking it would look a lot cooler if we matched both sides. So I'll use one tile here. I can cut it and use the scrap for the fold so it blends. Copy the same thing over here, so you've got the appearance of a full tile just bending over that curb. So it's definitely more work, but to me it feels more artistic and shows a little more effort and skill. And I'm gonna be sure to really mix up the colors on this so that it's very obvious that the same color and piece was used for these wraps. And to me, that's just a cool detail that not very many people will notice, but those who do, that's who it's for. Okay, so I've got my little sweatshop set up. I'm going to cut 54 tiles for that curb wrap. And these are all exactly the same. I set up a guide on the saw. I want to be really careful to keep each piece with its cutoff, because that wrap, I want it to be the same and look like a tile just folded over. And that's a really cool detail that I love to do. it's one of my favorite things to do, especially with Zellige tiles. So now I'm gonna go through and miter these. I just miter them on the DeWalt. It's clean, it's easy, this stuff's so soft. I don't ever like to dry cut these. It's so messy, there's too much dust, and this gives you such a clean cut. Just wanna be careful not to cut through the glaze, just set it back a little bit. And I call these rustic miters because they kind of match the style of the rustic tile. They're not like a perfect tight epoxied miter like you do with a porcelain. They're more rustic, handmade, craftsman-y, whatever you want to call it. Super fun. That's what I'm doing today. One thing I love about working with Zellige tiles is they help teach you about acceptance. They're very metaphoric of life. For a lot of my life, I struggled with accepting life on life's terms. And when things didn't go exactly as I thought they should, I would get angry or depressed. And as I'm learning to change that mindset, I'm finding that I have the power to choose how I feel and how I react in every scenario, no matter what life hands me. And I used to hate handmade tile because I couldn't control it. And I have a different mindset now than I did when I was younger. And I love handmade tile now. It is one of my absolute favorite things to do. And I love the inconsistencies, and I love that it's not perfect and that I can still make it beautiful. And if you need some therapy to overcome some issues like that, get yourself some Zellige tile. It'll work, I promise. All right, the slow and tedious process of installing these little miters and making sure I'm using the same piece on the top and on the cutoff. I wanted to get this corner detail done first because everything kind of flows off from there. And it's super tempting to want to go in and start to trim these tiles square and cut off that chipped edge and trim them a little bit so the grout lines are the same size, but you can't do that. It's an exercise in self-control, seriously, because I really want to. But you start to lose what Zellige tile is all about if you do that. If you cut everything square and perfect, you have to do it everywhere or it won't match. And if you do it everywhere, you might as well just go buy a regular, standard ceramic tile. So that's the challenge and the beauty of this stuff. Let it be what it is. All right, so got these underway, just one at a time. So every single piece is curved or bowed, so I'll scribe some of those if it's really bad. Some of them I won't. The corners bow up. This is why I call these rustic miters. The tiles just aren't flat, so you can't get the miters perfect on every single one. Without scribing every single piece, you might be able to. But you also have to remember, you got to know when to say when, okay? You have to have some limitations when it gets into custom crazy stuff like this. You could tweak out all freaking day and get 5 pieces of that done. But we are also in the business of trying to make a living here, and it's just not realistic. So you have to find a happy medium, know your limitations, know when to say when, do your best, and make it look awesome with what you're dealing with. There you go. So on these outside pieces, I use ultralight thin set, a little bit thick, and put it on there. And I like to let a little teeny bit squish into the miter because that's gonna dry pretty quickly and then hold that piece there. So, after 10 seconds, those are gonna stay put. I'm leaving this bottom row out because I'm doing a 3/4 inch thick heated limestone flooring here. I wanna get that all in before I cut in that bottom row. And obviously this is a really fragile curve. I'm gonna have to be super careful to not chip that as I'm working. Yeah, I love this little tweaky stuff. It's right up my alley. I used to count the letters on cereal boxes when I was a kid, if you could believe that. So this is kind of what I enjoy. I'm really digging this stuff. So handmade tile, and really, any tile or any trade across the board, there's so many little details that are open to interpretation. What looks good to me might not look good to my client. And our clients really put a lot of trust in us and, give us some creative and artistic freedom. And that's kind of scary sometimes. Nobody likes to do something and have someone not like it or be happy with it. It's a risk. We put ourselves out there. And I'm always grateful for my clients for trusting me. And, obviously I hope they love it. I absolutely love this. It's been a fun day. It's about 2 o'clock, and as my good buddy Rod says, nothing new after 2, especially on Fridays. So I'm gonna clean up and go spend some time with my family and enjoy my weekend. Thanks. So these are the walls of this shower. It's a 3/4 inch thick 2x6 Zellige. And when my clients told me about this detail, they want a 3/4 to 1 inch thick horizontal grout line on every row. I was kind of nervous. It's something I've never done, so I'm a little bit scared of it. And I told them that, and they're like, well, that's what we want, and I'm sure you'll kill it. So I am actually really looking forward to it. I love trying something new. You know, if you don't step outside of your comfort zone and do things that scare you, you're really never going to grow. So looking forward to that challenge. I called my buddy Ben Roberts, who I know had done one, aspect tile, amazing dude. He's like, yeah, it wasn't that bad. Just do it. It looks great. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm glad that I could get that little boost of confidence from him. So yeah, super fun detail, fun shower. Stoked that it's Friday. I'm going home.